Yeah. So obviously the big name for everybody across the Metsdom is
I like Metsdom.
Francisco. Yeah, man. I mean, it's the big catcher. It's Francisco Alvarez. He's like a shining star right now, and it's wonderful to see because he is special.
Yeah.
Um, but he's also a young prospect. So there's a lot of expectations being put on him. There's a lot of people, anointing him at an early age.
Hmm.
But this is where it fits for me. I think he can live up to that hype. He's got a lot of like offensive skills. Um, his numbers are incredible for a 20-year-old. And he came out and you mentioned it at the top of the show that he wants to be in the big leagues this year. That's his
Yep.
goal. I love that.
Same.
That's what you want. He is
Absolutely.
not too young for the big leagues. He's got some major steps to overcome, especially catching is so hard.
Yeah.
To be young, there's just no substitute for experience, but he's got the soft hands, he's got the wide body, he's got the demeanor and the understanding that he's young in that aspect and he's willing to work. So he's not going to have an ego when it comes to calling a game. At least when I was throwing to him, because in spring training, like first thing I do is like, all right, this kid looks like he's 13 years old. He's got the biggest smile on his face, and I'm judging you upon our first bullpen session. I'm judging you with your work ethic, the way you set up, if you're lazy with your hands, because I'm trying to polish my game.
Right.
And if you're being lazy back there, it's going to bother me in my development and where I'm at.
Yeah.
And so, a young kid, that's where you are because he's never had to work, nor has he probably had a pitcher that needs him to work. And so I get to that point, I'm throwing to him. I'm like, all right, let's see it. He's sticking it back there. He's grabbing it. He's doing everything right. So impressed with him. Game calling, I shook him a lot. I shake everybody. He handled it well. He had a good head on his shoulders. He's learning. He came up to me afterward and was like, why this pitch there? Talk through it. Super excited about him as a player. His attitude of wanting to be at the big leagues. That's what you want. And it's not unrealistic to think that he could be in the big leagues this year. He's 20.
Yeah.
He's not 16. Look at what happened. Juan Soto,
Yeah, man.
Ronald Acuna. These guys play a less premium position as far as, experience needed, but he can do it. He can be in the big leagues this year. You have some major hurdles with McCann. You've got a big contract there. You
Yep.
need a lot out of him. You have Nito, who is perennially underappreciated and a good ball player. I love Nito. So there's already those two guys in the big leagues. It's going to take something crazy or something drastic for him to get there this year, I think. But when he does, I'd be excited for it.
Yeah, I mean, if you want to talk about something crazy or something drastic, when Francisco Alvarez started the year in Single A last year, he batted .417 with a 1.2 OPS, which is very, very good for those who are unaware. The kid is a sensation. He went from very, very low on the top 100 prospect list, sometimes unranked on other websites, to being a top 10 prospect from last year. Some have ranked him as high as number 8. That's Keith Law. But yeah, I mean, he's the second best catching prospect in baseball. I don't think anybody would argue that behind Adley Rutschman. And the Mets are very, very blessed because we've had kind of a tough time getting a stable backstop back there. We've had bits and spades of guys like Travis d'Arnaud, but it's been a while since the days of Mike Piazza. And I don't want to, put that pressure on Francisco Alvarez that everybody is putting on him right now. But when you have a quote that says, make it to the bigs, that's my goal for 2022, you warrant the hype. He's just 20 years old, but we've had guys come up at 18 and 19. It's not a completely foreign thing anymore. And when you have a kid as special as Francisco Alvarez, he's gifted with the bat. Like you said, he's gifted behind the dish. And I just kind of feel like he has a little bit of a veteran presence around him. I really liked the story you told there about how he's willing to learn from pretty much anybody. There is a situation, though, with James McCann. He's only in year 2 of a 4-year deal. Obviously, Mets fans and Mets brass were a little bit underwhelmed with that 2021 performance. There's no reason why James McCann can't bounce back next year. He's been that kind of player before. And this is a Tomas Nido appreciation pod. We love Nido. window here, especially what he brings behind the dish defensively. So while there isn't a clear-cut spot for Alvarez yet, he could make it for himself with the way that he absolutely crushes the ball in the minor leagues. Between single A and single A plus last year, 24 home runs, a 554 slugging percentage, even swiped 8 bags. So he does a little bit of everything. I don't want to say he's a 5-tool player because, he is a catcher. There are caveats that come with that. But if you're a Mets fan and you're not excited about Francisco Alvarez in 2022, I would hop on the train. I really would.
Yeah, I would be excited. He's a heck of a prospect and a great kid. Could be a superstar. You don't want to do that to anybody and put that pressure on him.
Of course.
But here we are, man. This is New York. This is what you're gonna get.
It's kind of what we do.
Handle
we
it.
Put pressure.
Yeah, man. You're gonna feel it anyway. There's no more room in today's game for let's let a guy develop under the spotlight. If you're a big star, there's too much. Too many people have the capability of talking about you and getting their word out. There's no more secrets. So you're either going to develop or you're not. I would be excited. I am excited for him to see him in the near future at some point in the big leagues. Knock on wood, barring injury or setback. So. Yep.
And I get the aspiration, man, because it's go time in Queens a little bit. Like let's win now. And I think, if you're a young guy and you're the top prospect, you want to be a part of that. They always put that kind of expected year date, but sometimes things don't adhere to that. Sometimes guys get up quicker or slower. Francisco Alvarez is going to start in AA Binghamton next year. He hasn't played at that level yet, so we'll see how things go there. I think he'll definitely make it to AAA. And, injuries happen, spots open up. Sometimes you just need a spark plug. Like Michael Conforto got the call in 2015 with not much minor league track record before that. So it's not impossible at all to see Francisco Alvarez make the jump.
It's tougher from a catching standpoint. This is, again, where what we're missing right now is he needs to throw. Max Scherzer needs to throw to him if he's going to. If he's going to be a part of the future. Jacob deGrom needs more time with him. He needs to be able to see, what Sugar Diaz is bringing. You know what I mean? It's just different, man. It's different. You got to have a comfort level with it. You got to be able to you don't want to be surprised with just the nastiest stuff in the world. And you don't want to see, Jacob deGrom out there with his glove going like this constantly and then rolling his eyes. Right. You want to get a rapport with a guy. And so those are the things we're missing. Those are the big hurdles of development that we're missing, but he's 100% fully capable of showing up in Queens this year.
Yeah, it's crazy that there's no hyperbole when you say the nastiest pitchers in the world, because that is what he's going to be batteried up with. But that just excites me. It really just does excite me. He's going to be with the Mets for quite a long time. And I think the excitement is one side of, you want to make it to the big leagues. You want to prove that you can hang and you're worth the ranking. But also, you get to catch 2 world-class pitchers in deGrom and Scherzer, plus Sugar Diaz, plus Cookie Carrasco. There's plenty of, crazy talented arms on this staff with fun things that they're going to throw.
Let's not get it twisted. Everyone at the big league level is world-class.
Yeah, of course.
You have a chance to see Hall of Fame guys and catch them in their prime. That's something that not many people can do. Guys go an entire career without seeing somebody on that level, and you're seeing, a handful of guys. It's an experience like no other that he shouldn't be taken for granted, but he's like a little kid with he doesn't understand what he's going through right now or what he's seeing. But his passion is there. His mindset is right. It's a great time to be a Mets fan as far as the catching situation goes.
And there I know that this isn't entirely related, but there's just something about his build that I love. I love a stout catcher. Dude, he's 5'11", 233, thick.
He's a brick. He is solid. You're like, oh, that guy's a catcher. You see it?
Yeah.
And he's fun, man. I hope his personality, I'm excited for Mets fans to get to see him. He's got plenty of room to change. He's still young. But he is in a situation where we were in the alternate place where it's not the easiest to be happy and fun around because it's miserable. A lot of it, especially the baseball stuff, it's really difficult. The dude is smiling all the time.
Yeah.
like just happy, not blowing off his work like he could have done, and not just relying on him. I'm a top prospect here. Dude did his work, smiled, was fun to be around every day. It was fun, man. So that's exciting. Let's
Yeah.
move on. I don't want to talk about him
Yeah, I mean
anymore.
we've been
Everybody
gushing
talks
for a
about him.
while.